I've been fascinated by the Glass House and its programming ever since it opened. This has been something that's been a long time in the making, both in terms of during Philip's lifetime and then following Philip's death. And it has just fascinated me that what you would do with this site, which obviously has limited capacity for public tours, but enormous capacity for programming. This is a discussion that evolved significantly during the course of the day. And I began the conversation by saying that, there are a lot of ways to approach this, and each of us brings something else to the table. My personal questions, because I've also spent a good bit of time in the historic preservation business, was what examples can we look at of moments in history when great civic projects have been undertaken, and what was the catalyst for those projects, and what's the catalyst today, and then combining that with the notion that in addition to the sort of great project and the great leader and how they form projects, is the question of green issues and sustainability today, and how's that going to shape those kinds of moments in the future. And then we went around the table and garnered a variety of perspectives, ranging from education to the role of blogs today, and looking at the future of design and civic dialogue, and how you create those dialogues, and what's the role of planning versus design itself. And that evolved into really a fascinating conversation. Design education became an early focus in the discussion, but that metamorphosized into a discussion of design in a planning context, and then the question as to whether design itself is actually a public function versus planning, which actually is that which, in the course of a project, has a greater impact on the lives of the people involved in the project, either as residents or businesses or what have you. So there was this evolution throughout the discussion from it's all about design to the public is not necessarily the best entity to determine design. Because then you get into matters of taste. They laughed the architect of the Chrysler Building out of town. And so if you followed popular taste at that period, you would have never built a building like that. But at the same time, the planning component of it becomes even more paramount. And so the question was, how do you, in some ways, engage the public more in the planning side of things? These are very complicated matters, and I think what was encouraging is there was a sense on the part of most of the participants that there is an increasing design literacy among younger people and slightly older people that does bode well for the future in terms of design itself. But there are reservations about the civic dialogue that takes place in the public forum. I think in the end, there was a notion that as often as not, good design will follow good planning. There is a huge amount of information that came out of this meeting. And I think I need to really wrestle with the question of what is the role of planning and what is the role of design. And I think that's the horse and the cart. I think design may in fact be the second issue to be addressed in all of these kinds of things. But I'm as yet unclear about the educational component in how do you teach that form of civic engagement. Teaching civic engagement in design is easy. Come to the meeting, sit down, we're going to show you 10 designs, and you're going to tell me which ones you like. That's pretty simple. Assembling a group of people and saying, tell me about your lives and how you live them in this community. Tell me about the things that are important to you. Do you understand that automobiles are probably going to be less and less important to you over the years, and do you really want to design this community around them? Tell us about the things you value, and tell us about what you value in the community now. What buildings do you value? What architecture do you value? How do you yourself relate and engage in your own community? And on the basis of that, say, well, then the best way to approach what you need in terms of housing, in terms of retail, whether it's parking, in terms of recreation and parks, here's the way we think we can best assemble that on this parcel, whatever it is. And if we're all in agreement on that, we can design something that in the end you will find livable and likable. Will it be the next Rockefeller Center? Probably not. Will it be something that meets your needs? It will. Well, for me, I would say it was energizing. It really is just a remarkable experience, both to sit there, but also to have a group of just remarkably intelligent people. It's as if you were having a discussion at Jefferson's dinner table. You know, you're going to do your best to live up to the surroundings, and I think that's what the group did. I mean, you're in a place that you are unlikely to ever be in again in that capacity. The wonderful thing about it is, though, how comfortable you feel in that house at that table. You know, if you were eating at Jefferson's table, you might be a little intimidated by the notion that you may not really have a place there. In this case, you did feel both part of a tradition, but also comfortable in the sense that this was a place where you were supposed to be having that kind of discussion. I'd say it was transformative in the sense that I'm going to have to really go back and evaluate the way I think about some of these relationships between design and planning and civic engagement. And quite honestly, the other word that occurs to me is it was a lot of fun.